as a representative republic. Regardless, I digress. Will Stephen Guillbeau testify before the committee about the scam that he's involved in? And the scam is ownership in a company that is getting government subsidies and government contracts and things like that. And the answer is no. Of course he won't. Of course not. Wah, right? Like, so that's terrible. China retaliates over the EV tariff in a big way. Yesterday, I was saying, don't we send a lot of canola oil to China? Isn't China ticked about this whole EV thing? And then the rest of the news picked up on it and wrote a whole bunch of stories about it. So I'll show you that. Hey, I was right yesterday. And US. So speaking of China, there's a arrest in the US over a deputy chief of staff, and he was acting as an agent of the Communist Party. And Canadians insist that anyone suspecting a problem in Canada is far right, and we shouldn't worry about those censorship laws that the government is passing. And the government is definitely not influenced by Communist China, for sure not. But that's alt-right and far right to even consider it, right? In Canada. Ooh. Venezuelan gangs are taking over cities in the United States. And do you think that's far off here? Or remember not too long ago, and I said, like, thought experiment for you. You're in your house, then you get a knock on your door, and you get told to form up in the park, or else, basically. And then you notice that other people are getting shot, and so you decide to go form up in the park as you were told. Look, what's your recourse? Do you call the police? It seems that the people in the Venezuelan buildings who got that knock called the police, and the police took longer than an hour to show up. Do you think that's going to help? I don't know. Did Pierre Poilievre say anything about X being shut down in Brazil? So I've got two stories to show you. On one story, I'd like the politicians in Canada to weigh in. And on the other one, I don't want them to weigh in because it's a foreign country and it has nothing to do with us. And my rationale for that is, on one side, the politicians in Canada are saying, we condemn that action and we won't do that evil thing to you. And on the other side, I don't think they should be commenting on it, because if you start commenting on it, what are you going to do about it? Like, so the other one is Venezuela, I think, and Maduro is trying to maintain his hold on power because there's a color revolution being run against him by the United States, and they're trying to do to him what they've done to every other leadership in the world and make sure that it's run by them. So they want him gone fundamentally, and so in order to do that, they're agitating and making it so that their public is not happy with the outcome of the election. Now, Maduro's not the good guy here either. There are no good guys in this situation. But fundamentally, the Canadians, politicians speaking out against Maduro and all of the rest of it, what are you going to do? Canadian politicians speaking out against Putin or against Israel and Palestine and all the rest. What are you going to do? We don't have an army. Are you kidding me? We don't have any influence or say in what they do. It means nothing. It's null. It's useless waste of time. And so, why are you wasting your time? You're not signaling to me that that's strong. In fact, it seems weak and stupid to piss off Russia. It seems weak and stupid to do what we're doing, focusing on Israel, Palestine, and all the rest. We can't affect change. It's not our country, not our issue, not our war. So shut up about it and do what you can affect in Canada, but that's verboten. You're not allowed to do that, right? You're not allowed to actually focus on problems in Canada, because then the Canadian public might wake up and realize that there are problems in Canada, right? And so that's why they do that. So it's very interesting, and I think there's an interesting juxtaposition to explore there. And people have pointed out, in some cases, I want the government to talk about it, and in other cases, I want them to shut up about it. And I think that there is a reason why, and I think that basically encapsulates it. But we'll talk about it again during the show. Liberals are trying to use school lunches as election fodder and more. But first, we have to start with the Arrive scam and the corporations that are getting government money and government contracts that are actually owned by either bureaucrats who are unelected or elected officials, in the case of Stephen Guillbeau. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. Did I say that already? Here we go. We're going to start with the Arrive scam style. I'm an elected official like Randy Balsano or Stephen Guillbeau, and I also own this mask company or something like that with this other person, and I don't do anything in that mask company, but I make sure that mask company gets lots and lots of hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in government subsidies and government contracts. Is that improper, right? And it seems like it is improper. People don't like that. And now Stephen Guillbeau is also caught up in that. So there's two Randys, he's doing that. There's a whole bunch of bureaucrats who are doing that. There's rules around procurement that are being ignored, and now also Stephen Guillbeau. And is he going to have to testify? No, he's not, because the NDP and the Bloc say, no, it's okay. We don't want to hear from Mr. Guillbeau. Here's Sheila Gunn-Reid. She says, Sustainable Development Technology Canada, SDTC, is a $1 billion program giving away free money for so-called green initiatives, but over $300 million was paid out to 180 conflicted contracts. And no one was fired, and just 3 people are overseeing the program. How do you become one of those 3 people or 180 contractors? Because I bet there's no list. Like, if 3 people are overseeing it, maybe the shredder's running overtime, right? Like, get these documents shredded tout de suite. And my goodness, right? Like, the people who lose are the Canadian public. Like, it is absolutely not a situation where the Canadian public is going to benefit from these insider contracts, etc. We need these companies to, fulfill their contract. No, it's BS. I'm pretty sure that they're selling virtual face masks. Like, I'm pretty sure that it's not actually delivered, whatever they're selling. The Liberal who sold the ventilators, those things were sold for scrap, $200 million, and sold for scrap, $6 a pound or something like that, $6 a weighted measurement. Crazy town. How do we tolerate that? And yet we do. Here's CBC Watcher. He says, today, Rick Perkins noted that Stephen Guillbeau continues to hold shares in Cycle Capital. Cycle Capital got $200 million from the Liberal Green slush fund. Calls him to testify at the PACP committee. Also asks for a full audit of the slush fund by the Auditor General. Spoiler alert, he doesn't come. Here's the Holly Doan reporting on this. She says, Liberals and Bloc Québécois MPs vote to save Environment Minister Committee questioning over business dealings with subsidized Montreal companies. So the Cycle Canada thing. So he won't have to testify, but they want him to. So here he goes.
Also up here, Stephen Guillbeau, the Minister of Environment, in his public disclosure, continues to hold shares in one of the largest recipients of funds from the Liberal Green Slush Fund. Cycle Capital's received over $200 million, and Stephen Guillbeau not only worked there before being elected, but was still owns shares in his public disclosure and is benefiting from the investment by SDTC in Cycle Capital's businesses. Andre-Lise Mateau was his boss at Cycle Capital and is the founder there. And again, she has received, as I said, her company, since its inception, over $200 million of green slush fund money. And on B, because the Auditor General only did a selection of the projects and did not look at the full $800 million that was given out in that audit period of the $832 million that was given out of the $2.1 billion that the Green Slush Fund has given out since its inception. We are asking that the Auditor General do a full audit of everything, because we believe we've only scratched the surface with his random sampling of projects.
All right. And after that, the Bloc and the NDP say, yeah, well, we don't need to see it. We don't need to see anything from anybody, or the Liberals and the NDP and the Bloc say, we don't need to see anything from anybody, least of all Stephen Guillbeau. And scratching the surface, what do you mean? Like it's an iceberg? We don't believe it. The iceberg is all you can see. The iceberg is only what you can see on the surface. It just floats there. There's no more to the iceberg. Get out of here. That's our government's position at this point in time in that committee. So are we going to get to the bottom of this? Oh, no, we're not. Holly Doan again says, president of the NRC CRN, so this is the official account for the National Research Council Canada. He says Mitch Davies promises the highest standards on ethics following audits of conflicts in green technology funding. Right. I mean, I have full confidence in the ability of the Liberals and the Bloc MPs to shut this investigation down and to get absolutely nowhere with it. So like that's actually where we're at, unfortunately. Moving on, let's talk about China. Nick says, breaking Democrat New York Governor Kathy Hochul's former deputy chief of staff was just arrested by the FBI for acting as an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. Wow, in all caps. I mean, this is my shocked face. No, I'm not shocked. I mean, I can't be shocked. Are you kidding me? The whole Canadian government is infested According to the indictment, Linda's son worked to advance the interest of the Chinese government within the Hochul administration, such as blocking Taiwanese reps from meeting with state government officials. Her home was raided by the FBI earlier this year, as well as other corrupt Democratic New York state and city officials. What did Hochul know? So that's an interesting thing. Do you think that's happening in Canada? It sure seems like it if you listen to the CSIS leaks and look at Sam Cooper's reporting at all, right? Kirk says China is looking to retaliate, and the Liberals looking to retaliate against the Liberals' EV tariffs by targeting canola imports from Canada and some chemical products. Over half of Canada's canola production goes to China, and the western provinces will be punished. Saskatchewan produces about 54% of Canada's canola crops, followed by 30% in Alberta. November contracts are taking a hit. So it says 30% down, 30 down. I don't know if it's 30% actually. It looks maybe just like 30 points, but I don't know what that represents on the scale. So apologies about that. So there you go. That's one. And here's a little bit more color on this. I won't read this whole thing. There's capped areas, and I want to read this last part, but I'm going to start with some of the top part. So the food professor says, most expected China to retaliate against Canada, but the choice to target canola first is no coincidence. Canola, often referred to as Canada's oil, which is freaking hilarious because Canada's oil is the oil in the ground. Canada's oil. Canola oil. If you don't know about how bad vegetable oil is, read up about it. I used to pour vegetable oil in the pan and then cook my chicken in vegetable oil. And I watched a couple of videos about how bad vegetable oil is, and now I just cook my chicken in water. Way better. Way better. Like in a frying pan, I just put water in to not even cover the chicken, just like the back of the chicken's out of the water, and then the frying pan heats up the water and cooks the chicken really, really nicely, and you can, like, it's orders of magnitude better. And vegetable oil is bad for you. Yeah, it's bad for you. It's like motor oil, I heard. So, and I mean, okay. Oh, and I have to tell you about the milk. I forgot about telling you about the milk yesterday, and I feel terrible about it. Yesterday at dinner, I was like, I like teased it, and then I didn't even mention it. I guess. I think I didn't mention it. Okay. Regardless, here's the milk story. Milk. So I said that the gentleman who contacted me, I think it was a gentleman who contacted me regarding the almond milk, I said that they went onto the website, and in fact, they just went to their fridge and looked at the milk. So I went to the store and got an updated packaging. And so I don't know if they added the vegetable oil to the milk, or if the vegetable oil was always there and whatever rule didn't allow it or allowed them to omit it from the labeling, and then it changed. I don't know why it wasn't there, and it is there now, but it was the same product. He sent a picture of the product, and it was the zero sugar, and I had the zero sugar one, and his zero sugar one didn't have it, and mine did. So mine's the up-to-date one in the grocery store. Presumably theirs is just an old packaging one, but one they got from the grocery store. Did you check that you don't have listeria? Did you check that you don't have a listeria one? Presumably you don't have listeria, but the listeria one. Anyway, so the vegetable oil thing is like concerning. And it's weird that Canada's oil, the oil that built the country, because, you know, we built the railroad on that oil, right? And like, anyway, is canola oil now all of a sudden? It's not the oil we drill out of the ground. Huh, that's very, very strange. Anyway, Canada's oil, back to this after that quick aside. It feels like a Family Guy episode today a little bit, eh? I have to find where I was. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. The canola, referred to as Canada's oil, carries significant symbolic value. This move is more about sending a political message than just causing purely economic harm. Charging ahead, canola be damned. Canada's decision to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles last week was a predictable move. Ottawa fully anticipated retaliation, which came swiftly as China announced an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola exports. While there's no evidence of actual dumping, the facts are largely irrelevant in this case. China will proceed with sanctions regardless of the explanations provided by the Canola Council of or Canadian diplomatic channels. Much like in 2019, when Canada faced a similar impasse, we could see borders close again for Canadian agricultural exports. And the last time this happened was in 2019 when Meng Wanzhou was arrested, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then this part I want to read here and then read this a little bit. This industrial strategy follows a similar pattern. When a government decides that a product must be produced domestically at all costs. It often results in less competition, higher prices, and questionable product quality. The dairy industry offers a prime example. Ottawa has funneled billions into the sector, supported by highly restrictive trade barriers. While this policy has propped up dairy farmers, it has done so at the expense of other agricultural sectors, wheat, canola, beef, and pork, all of which could arguably benefit from the same level of government support. He's making an argument here that we've basically put too many eggs in two baskets, like in the canola basket and then the China basket. And so he's saying like we can diversify, I think is fundamentally the point. And milk gets attention and money and support, et cetera, while these other industries are left behind. Also, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So I'm just very, very surface summary of what's happening there. The last little bit that I wanted to highlight, though, is in the end, this is from the tweet. In the end, the federal government will likely compensate canola farmers for their losses, as it has done before. Farmers are resilient, but Canada's diplomatic standing, particularly with China, continues to erode. So there you go. It's in an interesting situation, and I think that here's another main bit of this whole back and forth exchange. By hitting canola, China sends a clear message. It can disrupt a key Canadian sector anytime political tensions escalate. So like, are you sure you want to do that? Because we're going to cost you a couple of $2 billion. So, up to you, but it's going to cost you. So they've got Canada over a barrel, and our leadership is uncertain how to use their leverage. I don't know that they know what leverage is. So they don't know how to use it. But China's got Canada leveraged in multiple different situations. They've got MPs who they helped elect by busing students in. They selected candidates in safe liberal seats. Leverage, okay? Monetary, like we want as much canola as you can sell us. Leverage. They have leverage now, because if they say we don't want this canola anymore, now you've got farmers and people. They did this since 2019. 2019 is a long time ago, right? Like, so I mean, they've been and the trade gets normalized. So you expect that you're going to have that money. You expect that it's going to come in. You expect you start planning for it. And then when they turn it off, leverage, right? And so you don't want them to turn it off. So what do? Anything they want, right? Like it's a lot of money. People are relying on that money. They'll be mad at you if it's gone, right? And so that's what happens, leverage. Andy Lee is talking about China as well. And she's responding to this tweet. CBC Watcher says, in another stunning allegations, this is about the U.S. Worker in the United States. Sun reportedly allowed a Chinese official to join a private New York state government conference call discussing the COVID-19 pandemic response, granting Beijing direct access to sensitive information. And that's from Sam Cooper. So the Chinese spy working as the deputy, I can't remember where his position was. Hold on. Deputy Chief of Staff rings Beijing in on a conference call during COVID-19 with the upper echelon. Is our plan working? Let's find out. Oh yes, it's working great. So like, that's pretty concerning, right? Andy Lee's responding to all this, and she says, sort of like Justin Trudeau's appointed former special rapporteur did. So the same thing happened with David Johnston, right? Pretty crazy. Why would our ambassador to the People's Republic of China, Kong Pu, choose to phone a former serving governor general at the beginning of a pandemic that resulted in Canadians being locked down for years? He was not serving as an official at the time. He resigned in 2017. So David Johnston was contacted after Canada was locked down in mid-2020. Kong Pu's first phone call was with non-official was David Johnston. So weird, right? Super crazy coincidences. Do you believe in those still? Justin Trudeau, let's talk about our grab bag of governance. And that's always fun. And Justin Trudeau says, or this news article, I think it's CTV, but I don't know. It's just clipped. Michael Barrett says, do you agree? And it says, Justin Trudeau tops the list of Canada's worst prime ministers, says a new poll. Yeah, he's awful. He's awful. Is his dad, or one of his dads on that list too, like right after him? Brian Mulroney's popularity is surging as the current prime minister faces growing criticism. So they're saying that Brian Mulroney would be on the list for most popular prime minister. Do you know Brian Mulroney is the one who brought in the multicultural policy for Canada? I only mention that because they change history by saying, oh, it was super popular. I mean, people didn't understand the policy that was being introduced, I don't think. Anyway, Lucy is talking about the United Kingdom, and this got me thinking about this morning. How would you feel if it was leaked from a top secret file that successive British governments and their opposition had been actively working to replace white British people with foreign people, and it was not a conspiracy theory after all? My response to this is that's been the official position of Canada since 1987. So are you mad about that? Because like that's the official position of our country. We funnel money to support that official position. That's laws are based on that official position, voted into the House of Commons in 1987 under Brian Mulroney. So if we want to change it, maybe we should elect a government that says we should stop that multiculturalism policy and normalize our country and encourage births. Somebody said, the fact that Canada has not encouraged any births at any point, because we knew about low population in 1980, and you can encourage births. You can say, like, listen, if you have 5 kids, the province will buy you, or the country will buy you a minivan, or 3 kids, and the mother or woman is exempt from taxes for the rest of their life, right? Income taxes for the rest of their life. Although I don't think I think people should not have to pay taxes. These taxes are outrageous. Any tax is outrageous at this point in time. The government can't deliver service. They're terrible. They're awful. They're terrible. They shouldn't be funded at all, period. But regardless, if you had a government that cared, they could use their resources to encourage people to have babies, right? Have 6 babies and you get a minivan and no taxes. What else can we give them? I don't know. A trailer every 5 years. So it's one of those things where you could really encourage births, but the fact that Canada never did and instead leaned into the multiculturalism thing. Do you know who Caligari is and what his plan was, right? Like, do you know the history around all of this? Because it seems like our governments have been infiltrated by globalists for decades, and we're watching the negative outcomes of it right now. And that's like pretty brutal, right? Table Salt says, now the shipbuilders want 100% sales tax for Canadians who buy Chinese ships. So we want more tariffs, please. We want more government regulation. And who cares about the canola? We want ships protected. And Table Salt continues and says, why don't we just go back to 800 BC and produce everything domestically? We don't have to go back that far. Like the 60s and 70s, people had factory jobs. People loved their factory jobs. People had high wages from factory jobs. If we could actually manufacture in Canada again, things would be better. Like, imagine the opportunities for the jobs. We don't have enough people is the next problem. Right? How do you solve that problem? Well, you incentivize with minivans and taxes, and you wait 20 years. Come on, 18-year-olds, get older quick, right? Like, we snookered ourselves by bringing in people who pay taxes right away and go to work right away. We need 100,000 new people. All right, let's bring in 100,000 new people, and they all pay taxes. And then the politicians go, wow, that worked a treat, and everybody seems pretty happy with that. Let's do it again. And they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and then it happens. And 40 years later, Toronto doesn't look like Toronto anymore, right? So beautiful Canadian-made rubber. Yeah, I'd love to produce things here again. I'd love to manufacture and strengthen that sector, but because of the way the global incentive structure works, nobody does that. And like, if you do that, you're almost punished, right? Like it's insane. You're not competitive on the global stage because you're paying your workers $25 an hour when they're making like widgets. And in China or wherever, they're paid much less. And so the people who are paid much less can afford to sell their product for much less. And so the people in Canada can't, anybody doing any kind of work like that in Canada can't compete with the Chinese factories. So all of that kind of production gets offshore. That's how it happened, and that's how it's staying, right? So pretty crazy. Holly Doan is talking about Elections Canada, and they've won a federal court case over enforcement of mask mandate in 2020 in the 2021 campaign. Ruling came in the case of a West Vancouver man denied work as a deputy returning officer over refusal to wear a mask. So they can discriminate all they want, and the crooked, invalid federal courts are going to side with the people who are discriminating, right? So Elections Canada can discriminate against you if you don't want to cover your breathing holes while working for them. And apparently that's just fine according to the courts. Scary stuff. Kirk is talking about our pension fund. And he says, IQ test, where is Canada Pension Plan getting the $300 million it will be spending on its new office and some of the most expensive square footage in Canada? Canada Pension Plan Investment Board to spend $300 million plus on its lavish new office at CIBC Square. So source estimates 10-year cost of move at $300 million to $430 million. CPP Investments says it needs new office to attract talent, and CIBC Square is the only space that meets the commercial objectives. The CPP Investments is run by the WEF. Hold on, I'll show you. Well, isn't that funny? When I go to the World Economic Forum website, you can see the WE Forum website here, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board. Apparently, I'm denied, but I've got a VPN. Like, I don't think there's any way they can know that I'm trying it. You give it a shot. I'm changing my VPN right now. So my IP is changing as we speak right now. It's just changed. I'm going to refresh. I don't know why I wouldn't be allowed. Maybe it's because I'm on a VPN. Okay, I'm going to turn off the VPN. Sorry, we're doing this in real time because this is what I would do to see if it's me or if it's something else. I think it's got to be something else. It's not me. VPN, that's it. That's why. The VPN is on. So here's the World Economic Forum. I picked it up in the Wayback Machine too, but better to look at it from its real source. And then I'll turn my VPN back on. I'll turn it on right now. Okay. But here it is, World Economic Forum, CPP Investments, Canada Pension Investment Board CPP Investments is a professional investment management organization managing the fund of more than 22 million contributors and beneficiaries of the Canada Pension Plan in order to build diversified portfolios of assets investments. It invests worldwide in public equities, private equities, real estate, infrastructure, and fixed income, headquartered in Toronto with offices in Hong Kong, London, Luxembourg, Miami, New York City, San Francisco, São Paulo, and Sydney. CPP Investments is governed and managed independently of the Canada Pension Plan at an arm's length from government, at arm's length from government as the WEF. Are you kidding me? Do you think Pierre Poilievre's going to get our money out of that? Do you think he's going to do that? Has anybody asked him? Anyway, so these are the guys who are going to spend $300 million on a new building, right? Who do you think is going to pay for that? Do you think it's going to be them paying for that? The World Economic Forum? Color me skeptical. Okay, I think it's probably going to be you and me. Okay. Contrarian says, so the Liberals wrote off billions for their large corporate buddies. They then hired thousands of CRAs to go after the little people. Just 11 corporations received $1.2 billion in government write-offs. Want to know the names? Nope, as the Liberal government will not release them. So here's this guy. He's pretty good. Well, it takes him a long time to get into the details, but basically the details are what is set up here. 11 corporations have had a $5 billion, I think he says $5 billion write-down. $1.2 billion in government write-offs. I thought it was $5 billion. In the video, I think he says $5 billion. I got to find it. Hold on. I must have misheard. He just says $1 billion, so not $5 billion. But I'll play this middle part here. Here we go.
Who the companies are that are receiving these handouts. I really want to know who these companies are. Are they lobbyists? How are they connected to our government? It's actually incredible that these companies are getting hundreds of millions of dollars in write-offs, and the CRA is going after these small businesses and people for pennies. It should be the other way around. The small businesses and people can't afford the extra couple $1,000s, but these corporations are making billions. They could afford pay a little bit more. And then you get the CRA saying, guess what? This is part of normal procedures for us. Citing reasons like bankruptcy, financial hardship, and or extraordinary circumstances. I've added all the numbers up. What?
Pretty crazy stuff, right? Who knows how government can give these corporations all that money and protect them from any kind of scrutiny? Isn't that wild? Is it Loblaws? Is Jagmeet Singh giving big handouts to Galen Weston while publicly calling him a gangster who's overcharging Canadians, right? Isn't that wild? Moving on, here's True North. They're reporting Canada's healthcare system is poised to be strained even further in the coming years as the country's baby boomers demographic continues to age. Provincial governments are headed for dire financial crisis ahead. And Carroll says nothing to do with the 2 million immigrants per year or the poison bioweapon mandated by all of them. Yeah, there's all sorts of things that are happening. We're opening up immigration pathways for elderly people in the face of a collapsing healthcare system. We don't have enough healthcare workers in the pipe to take care of the people who are sick in the pipe or who will be aged and needing care. And so what do you do with all of that? The only solution in Canada, obviously, is to import people and raise taxes, right? And so that's what they're doing, except they keep importing elderly people. That puts more pressure on the healthcare system, right? And so like it's terrible. Everything that they do contributes to the chaos they're trying to bring about. Hello everyone, thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to canadapoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.